So many faces around the room have made tonight happen, and we just want to thank you all so much for being here. This park would not exist without the people in this room and the families that are in this room, so thank you very much. Thank you to the Lamar Hunt family for their generosity. So many of the things here, so many of the photos you see, these are their treasures, and so we're very grateful for them for sharing them with us. From Hunt Midwest, Connie Camps, who's introduced herself already. Chris Meyer, fantastic job getting us coordinated, getting all these beautiful photos and all these memories in one place for our guests. Thank you to Cedar Fair. Thank you to our GM, Rick Fiedler, our assistant GM, Jess Sellers. Tremendous support in getting this done. As you all know, anything in an amusement park, a theme park is an effort that requires many hands. So thank you all, everybody who has contributed. Jeff and Jennifer Lovesey masked a lot of the trinkets, a lot of those little plates, just a lot of the little things that you remembered. They are our historians. They take such great care of this park's history. We hope you get to introduce yourselves to them tonight. So yeah, this is a tremendous evening. I know my friend Lee Darrow has a great speech planned for us. So Lee, I'm going to introduce you here. Welcome back. Oh, come on now.
Well, hello everybody. Hey, hello. You know, nobody aged. I told them, I said, look, if we're going to do this, you got to get a bar stool up here for Clark and me. Me mostly, because I spend most of my life on one. But anyways, I'll try and make this brief. In 1973, for those of us that were there, would you have ever imagined that we would be back here 50 years later? You know, somebody would have told me that at the time. I would have said, what have you been smoking? Which, in 1973 would have been a legitimate question. But anyways, here we are. I want to thank Brian McManus and the whole crew at World Fun for doing this and putting it together. And you know, this is a remarkable display here, and it's a real trip through time for all of us. And Cedar Fair execs of Rick Fielder, who's a GM, and Brent Barr, all of you, I probably remember Brent now as the corporate head of entertainment for Cedar Fair, and Jason McClure, who's also the corporate vice president. I want to thank you guys for allowing us, the old alumni / old timers, to come back and enjoy all this. I'm going to read some of this stuff. Chris and Connie, and I want to recognize Gary Noble. Gary Noble was very important in getting all the addresses and everything so that we could send out invitations to you guys. And sadly, he couldn't be here with us tonight, but he did a hell of a lot of work. When they said, hey, you got to get up and talk about something, I said, well, you know, everybody in this room can write a book about this place. So how much time do I have? I said, not a lot. So I said, okay. I started thinking, let's talk about what makes this place special. Okay, the first thing is Lamar and Jack Stedman's vision and perseverance and intestinal fortitude to finance and to build this place at a time when that was not an easy task in a market that was really not big enough to probably warrant the size of this amusement park. But lo and behold, here it is, and thank goodness it's here, because the park has employed, you know, literally hundreds of thousands of us and entertained millions and millions of people in those 50 years. And Kansas City would be a lot different place if this wasn't here. So I get choked up about this. Secondly, our duel, which they've got some of the plans over here, was the designer and architect. And they executed the Around the World in 80 Days theme extremely well, as witnessed by all the buildings that are out here. And they took full advantage of this kind of unique piece of ground that we have with the topography that makes this park a little bit different, in fact, a lot different than a lot of other parks that are on an old alfalfa field. But what really makes this place special is all of you, the permanent and seasonal employees that staff the park. All of you bring, I'm gonna read this, bring the park to life with the World of Fun brand of magic, thrills, entertainment, every hour of every day, night, weekend, and holidays. I salute you all, past, present, future. You know, keep the fun going. And I also salute everybody for the hard work, dedication to making Worlds of Fun the very special place it is. I also want to salute our spouses who tolerated our passions that required the lonely hours and time away from home that we all spent. We love you dearly for that and for all the other reasons that we love you. You know, all of us in this room know, and everybody who works in this business knows it's hard work making fun for others. But God bless you for doing it. I want to make some special recognition here for people who have been making fun for people longer than all of us almost. Steve Youngstrom is here. Steve started in 1973. Am I running out of time already? I'm known to do that, so I'm just checking. Anybody who starts tapping their watch, I get nervous. Steve Youngstrom started out in the landscape department, and he's still in the landscape department here, running the greenhouse. I told him he has probably set the NCAA, NFL, never to be broken record for longevity at Worlds of Fun. We also have Donna Welburn that's here. She's the manager of live entertainment and costumes, and she worked 48 and a half years. And then we have Annie Earhart Hadley. And Gary Noble said, Lee, you gotta recognize her. She worked more hours of showtime than anybody else ever at Worlds of Fun. And I think that record also probably stands. I doubt that anybody has worked as many shows since then. And then we got Walter Bryant, who is our musical genius. And Walter's still doing stuff also for Worlds of Fun, even though he's retired from full-time, you know, doing the music for the shows and doing, for us, he did music for the shows, he did music for the commercials. Anytime we did music, Walter was the guy. And Gary Noble, sadly he's not here, but he was our utility infielder. I mean, Gary was show productions director. He was the MC for any event that we ever put on. He was a consultant to the marketing department, and he was also dabbling in the personnel area. And like I said, he was the utility man for everything. So anyways, we're gonna move on here. They have asked Clark Hunt, chairman of the world champion 3 times. He's going to be up here, and they've asked us to do some Q&A. And I'm gonna grab my list of questions I'm supposed to ask you, because it would probably be better than me making them up. It might be more exciting if I made them up. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. What a pleasure it is for me to be here today. What a trip down memory lane. And thank you to everybody in this room who had a hand in making this place so special for me, for my family, and most importantly for the citizens of Kansas City.
Here's the first question I'll throw at you. Your dad moved the Chiefs here in 1963, and it wasn't too long after that when he decided to open Worlds of Fun. Why did he decide to open a amusement park?
Well, in the late 60s, by the way, is this working?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, in the late 60s, my dad had been fortunate enough to engineer the merger between the American Football League and the NFL. The deal was struck in 1966 and actually became final in 1970. And I think at that point, he felt secure that the AFL and his Chiefs were going to survive. And he was so thankful for the opportunity that he had been provided here in Kansas City. And the team was on its way not only to success on the field, but success off the field with the construction of Arrowhead Stadium. And so he was looking for a way to give back to the community. And my dad was always about free enterprise and creating economic opportunity. And so I think he decided really the best way to do that would be to create a business that would benefit the entire city of Kansas City. And naturally, he came up with an amusement park. And I say naturally in jest, but it was also true because my dad was all about entertainment and fun. In fact, he used to like to tell people that his mother must have been bitten by the entertainment bug when she was pregnant with him because he just came that way. And that's why he decided to get involved in the sports business and then later the amusement park business with the two parks here in KC.
Do you remember opening day here?
Well, sort of. So I was 8 years old, and I do have two memories from that day. One was being on this boat, the Cotton Blossom, which Lee later renamed something else.
It was a Rotten Blossom. I didn't name it. I think some of these guys out here did.
Yeah. But I remember being on that ship and it being a very sunny day and the sun was in my eyes. And then of course we got to do a few of the rides, and for whatever reason the Lake Taxi Tour ride sticks out in my mind, probably because there's a photo of me on that taxi from that day 50 years ago that's right around the corner that I've seen over the years. But I remember that experience, and that was one of my favorite rides here. I don't think I was ever able to drive it without hitting that thing in the middle, which always frustrated me so much.
Question is, what was your favorite ride?
That would be tough. The Zambezi Zinger had a real place in my heart as the park's first big roller coaster, and I love that for many reasons. But I'm gonna go with another one because it ties to a story that sticks very much in my mind. So 3 years after the park opened, I was here as an 11-year-old. I had a friend with me. And my parents had given us a little bit of free rein, and so we were, working around the park and riding different things. And sure enough, we got completely lost. And I remember going to, one of the stands in the park and reporting that I was lost, and they asked me, well, what's your parents' name? And I told them, and that created some activity. But the good news is we were able to stay lost for at least an hour, and we spent that hour riding the Flying Dutchman. I mean, we must have ridden it 20 times in a row, and had them all doing it. So I think I would go with the Flying Dutchman.
I would have never guessed the Flying Dutchman. To this day, guests can get a snack at Norma's Funnel Cake. If I remember right, there were stores named after each of you. Is that correct?
Yeah, it sure is, and I actually was wondering walking in whether those stores still have the same name. But yeah, I remember my dad, again being the creative genius that he was, deciding that he would name a store or shop in the park after each of us. One was Sharon's Yum Yum Tree. My sister, there was Lamar's Libations, which worked for both Lamar Sr. and Lamar Jr. Norma's Funnel Cake, which I saw that we have some funnel cakes over here, which I'm looking forward to getting after. And then the store that was named after me was Clark's Livery Stable. Is that correct? Yeah. What the heck's a livery stable? and how did a 8-9-year-old get a livery stable named after them? I mean, Lee, couldn't you have done better than that, right? When you
I think we were running out of energy.
but anyhow, lots of fun. And then we came back. My younger brother Dan wasn't born until 1976, but he did get a
Yeah, I'm
store.
trying to remember what
I don't
it was.
remember what it was.
Does anybody else remember?
Daniel's Danish Deli.
Ah,
There you go. All right.
Okay, I know your mom couldn't make it tonight, but this place has a special significance to you and your wife. Excuse me, Tavia couldn't make it tonight. Tell us about that and what it means to both of you.
So I do wish that my wife, Tavia, was here. She grew up here in Kansas City and came to the park many, many times as a youth. And like I do, she has so many fond memories of growing up here. But it has a special place in our hearts because we came here on our second date in August of 1991, and I think it was here at this park where we both sort of knew, okay, you know, this could have a future, and sure enough, we'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary this October. And George Fun at least has to get part of the credit.
Here's the last one. Or we could do more if you want. How meaningful is it to you to have your father and have Jack Steadman remembered and honored on a day like today?
Yeah, well, Lee, you already mentioned Lamar and Jack, and it was their vision and perseverance, which I think were the two words you used. My dad had no shortage of perseverance for those that you knew, who knew him. And this park and Oceans Fun, I think, are emblematic of that. But Lee, I would also have to add you to the group. You guys were the three musketeers who were fighting on a daily basis to make this thing work, which you eventually were able to do so. So it's a credit really to all three of you and your hard work and your energy and your love of fun. Right, your love of fun that made this place a reality. So it's a great day for the citizens of Kansas City. It's a great day for anybody who's ever been associated with Worlds of Fun. But my dad, Jack, and you, Lee, really deserve special recognition. So now we're going to flip it. I get to ask Lee questions. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And if you would like to pass up any questions, just don't put them in my hand. Anything you know that
Don't miss your chance.
yeah, any nefarious activity that he was involved in.
I just want to make sure your mic's on.
It's on now.
Wait, I thought it was on.
Oh, you thought it was on, okay. Yeah, there, I can definitely tell it's on now. So Lee, I remember as a youth hearing the stories about you and Jack or you and my dad going to other parks to test out rides, and I think specifically roller coasters. Is there one that sticks out in your mind that you remember, going by and like, wow, that is incredible, we'd love to have it, or that's too scary, we can't bring it to Worlds of Fun?
No, what we did is I got on the phone to a bunch of my buddies who were general managers, and I asked them, I said, hey, this is particularly when we were building the Timberwolf, because you can exercise a lot of creativity when you're building one of those wooden coasters. And in the steel rides, it was more the manufacturer, you told them kind of what you wanted and gave them the site that you wanted to put them in. But then their engineering department came back and said, well, this is what we can do, and then we tweak it from there. The wooden coasters were a whole nother deal. And so we'd hop in the plane, I'd call the guys and I'd get recommendations. Like, we went to Elitch's Park in Denver and rode the roller coaster there and took a couple elements out of that and put it in the Timberwolf. And then we went to Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, and rode their big wooden coaster there, and we said, okay, we gotta do that to it. And I'm trying, anyways, the thing was an amalgamation of a number of different wooden coasters around the country. And when you ride the ride, it's really a pretty cool ride, because that was a real tough part of the job, by the way.
I was going to ask you what your favorite part of the job was, and also what was the most challenging.
most challenging, I think, is safety. You know, you have to, all of us had to keep our head up all the time around here. You never wanted anything bad to happen to any guest that came here. And being ever vigilant and having that burned into the back of your head is probably the most challenging part of the job. That and honestly keeping the place staffed. Even back in the 70s, we in the early 70s, we had a pretty rich environment for people that wanted to work here. But then as time went on, it got tougher. And today, I don't know how the current management is able to staff these parks anymore. I mean, it's really tough because people don't like working anymore.
Yeah. You know, one of the memories I have of walking around the park with my dad, and I also saw him do this at Arrowhead and other stadiums that he had an involvement in, was his attention to detail. And if there was, you know, a piece of trash on the ground, he was going to bend over and pick it up. If there was a flower that wasn't just quite right, you know, he was going to go reposition it. And that was one of the unique things about Worlds of Fun in the context of amusement parks across the country, is how beautiful the landscaping was. Was that a challenge, sort of keeping it up to my dad's standards?
I'd ask Steve that question. Yes is the answer, right? And it wasn't just your dad set the pace for that kind of thing, but everybody was tuned into, you know, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make this a kind of environment that when you got into it, you forgot about all the stuff you left outside. And so making it something that was cleaner than where you lived, and everything was all in its place, and everything functioned well, and the food tasted good, and you know, the merchandise was stuff that you'd want to buy was the goal, and that's and the entertainment shows were entertaining. I mean, that was the mission.
Yeah. I mean, the shows were first class, absolutely. Now, I remember getting dragged to a lot of the shows as a kid, and I was always like, I'd like to be outside riding the coasters. But the shows, you know, really were special in terms of the quality and the costumes and so forth. What's the backstory on the creation of Oceans of Fun? You know, how did that conversation get going, and what was the impetus for it?
I got a call from a guy named Dennis Spiegel, who's one of my closest friends, and he used to run. He's assistant general manager at Kings Island, and then was the general manager at Kings Dominion, and then went to the Taft corporate headquarters and did international development. Now he has his own company called International Theme Park Services. Dennis calls me up and he said, "Hey, I was down in Orlando, and I saw this place called Wet and Wild. You got to get your ass on an airplane and go down and take a look at this place." So I did, and I said, you know, we could have a second park in Kansas City. And so I started working on it, and you know, kind of came up with the schematics and the numbers and stuff like that, and got kicked out of Jack's office 2 times. But then we prevailed, and we presented it to Lamar, and Lamar said, "Go for it," and the rest is history. I mean, it's here, and it works. You know, I describe it. It looks like a helicopter. Helicopters don't look like they can fly. Well, water parks only run for 100 days, 90 days. They don't look like they can make money. Guess what? They can make a lot of money.
That's great. Well, again, Lee, thanks for your many contributions to Worlds of Fun and Hunt Midwest and the Chiefs. Many of you know that Lee is still involved with the Chiefs, and let's see, are you on about year 53, 54 with the family at this point?
Yeah, or maybe even more. I got to add it up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's exactly right. One of the few people alive who shortly will have all 3 Chiefs Super Bowl rings.
Just goes to show you don't have to be 6'7" and weigh 300 pounds.
There you go.
Hey, I just want to thank you and the family for giving me all the opportunities I've had, and all of us. It's fantastic.
It's been a lot of fun and a great partnership. So yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate it.
Oh, do you want me to? For those of you, there's an open mic situation here. If you want to share some of your memories, and you got to keep them clean though. Brian says it's available.
Still in charge after all these years, huh? That's all you have to do.
Of course.
Well, thank you, Lee and Clark. That was, I mean, just the memories that come pouring out just from our guests and even those who made the park happen or who grew up in the park or had their father own the park. They're all the same, and everybody just lightens up when they talk about Worlds of Fun. So we're truly blessed to be able to do what we do here, and it's tremendous. So next to me are 2 plaques in honor of Jack Stedman and Lamar Hunt. These are going to be displayed permanently in the park from this day forward. So we wanted to honor our founders. Happy birthday, Worlds of Fun, everybody! Thank you very much for coming. The bar's open. The food, drink our booze, eat our food. The night's yours. So thank you all very much for coming. We are also going to have an interview station set up for folks to tell their stories to us. We'll share them on social media, YouTube, and we'll distribute them to our media partners as well. But if you would like to tell your stories, that's where we'll be. But that's it. Thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy the night.